So, you got DOSBox set up and are ready to dive into some multiplayer action? Well, here you go. Before we start though, here are my guidelines for picking the games. First off, I only looked at games that require a network connection for multiplayer. Fatal Racing, the game I took the music from you're listening to right now for example, won't show up on this list. It is one of my favorite network racing games, but it also provides split-screen multiplayer. My choice was obviously also restricted by the games I know and own. I also feel the need to mention that I stole every last bit of gameplay footage in this video. You'll find the name of the people I liberated it from on screen and the links to the videos in the description as always. Finally, the boxes you're about to see are European and may not be complete. So without any further ado, here is my personal top 10 list. Well, strictly speaking, that's not entirely true. There is a long ass intro, and I'm gonna make you sit through it. But after that, I promise. Shattered Steel. It's a mech game. I know. Most people will probably prefer the MechWarrior series, or maybe even Earth Siege, but I grew up on this, and it's stuck. You can choose one of 7 mechs, though this game is all edgy and calls them runners, and then you shoot at shit until it explodes. Pretty basic stuff, but there's a lot of fun to be had. Especially the ability to deform the terrain with your weapons impressed me back in the day. Should you run into any problems with the game, you can always try the official patch, which is surprisingly still available on the Interplay support site. Multiplayer wise, this game is the full package. Various methods of deathmatch as well as cooperative play, with the ability to design your own missions. You can play up to 16 players, and the game even provides bots. Warcraft 2.
Yes, my lord. Yes, my lord. Alright.
Everybody knows the Warcraft brand. This is not the first game, but arguably, it's the best game. Okay, nobody argues it's the best. Only I argue it's the best. But I stand by my opinion, so that's something, right? Also, you can blow up sheep by clicking on them like a maniac. That's bonus points in my book. You can't hurt anybody with it though. Believe me, I tried.
At your service. Yes. Your orders. As you wish. Your Eminence. Move out. What? Step aside, Junior. Follow me.
Carmageddon. Beauty, thy name is Carmageddon. Some people don't like this game, but I think it's got a little bit of everything that made DOS games in the 90s so great. Ambitious game design, over-the-top violence, and a taste for the offensive. And bad controls, of course. Yeah.
It's just not right to read the air here. Something's fucking.
You better bring a few friends to play though. The more the merrier. If you can't find enough people, stick to the mode where you have to mow down the most pedestrians. That's always good for love, even with 2 people. Magic Carpet 2.
The city of Jarl is safe for now. Come, there is much more to do.
Build your castle, destroy your enemies, and collect their life force. You know, wizard stuff. Magic Carpet 2 is one of those games where the sequel is pretty much the same game as the first installment. Features have been added, bugs have been fixed, but the gameplay and the engine stay the same. It still has its fair share of bugs though. As it would befit a wizard, you also have a metric fuckton of spells, most of them rather useless. It still is a blast in multiplayer though, and it caters to my deformable terrain fetish. Also, let's be honest here, everybody knows life is simply much more fun
when you're a wizard.
Quake. Sure, you can do all the usual Quake stuff with your rocket jumps and death matches and whatnot, but the newer installments are probably better for that. What really makes the first one stand out is a feature that will become quite the theme with this list: the ability to play the single-player campaign cooperatively. When Quake first hit the store shelves in 1996, it had it all. Beautiful graphics, tight controls and adrenaline-pumping gameplay. It aged as gracefully as early 3D games can, and it is still fun 20 years after its release. Dungeon Keeper.
You need to build a lair for your creatures.
Dungeon Keeper, because it's good to be bad. No, seriously, it's good. This game has a dedicated bitch slap button. How many games do you know that can claim the same? It's kind of an RTS game with a twist. However, when playing this game, you will encounter a noticeable lack of microtransactions and 20-hour waiting periods. You just gotta try and look past that though. You know, see it as a product of its time. On the positive side, there is a possessed creature spell that expands the classical RTS base building elements with the ability to defend your creation in the first person. I always wondered why more games aren't doing this nowadays. It's a really fun feature. Multiplayer kicks ass on this one, and it even comes with bots. Better get the AI patch first though. Doom 2. Doom is probably the most famous first-person shooter on the planet. This is the sequel, and it's of the same type as with Magic Carpet. A little similar, but good. And it also supports co-op play. There's literally nothing that has not yet been said about Doom. So, I'm just gonna let Gert take it from here.
I gotta sing the Doom song now! Doom, 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 doom,
Command and Conquer, Red Alert.
Building. Training. Building. Unit ready. Training. Unit ready. Training.
Awaiting order very well.
This is probably the DOS RTS game I spent the most time with. If I had to express in one word what makes this game great, it would be Tanya. Okay, it's a little basic, but somehow that just adds to its charm. You can also get the 2 expansion packs, Counter-Strike and the Aftermath. And of course, you can download a shitload of custom maps, as well as make your own with the editor. Though, truth be told, that is the case with every RTS game on this list.
Complete. Building. Unit ready. Building.
Duke Nukem 3D.
Groovy.
Enemies bleeding to death, blood running down the walls, bloody footprints, exploding enemies and giving money to strippers to show their tits. This game was every parent's nightmare, as well as the greatest thing a 9-year-old boy could own. I only found out about the multiplayer years later, but I still loved it. Like all the other FPSs on this list, you can play it cooperatively as well as in several competitive modes. Blood. How can you top Duke Nukem? Well, you take the same engine, cram even more blood and gore into it, and fill it to the brim with allusions to horror films. This is without a doubt my favorite of the build engine games. It has a certain style of gore that can only be achieved by using 2D sprites. It is quite a hard game too, so it will still provide a challenge, even if you play it cooperatively. It's not without its faults, but as long as you don't try to shoot around corners and learn to use your dynamite, you should be fine. So, now you know what multiplayer games to play on DOS. And for those of you with short-term memory problems, here's the entire list in a rundown. There you go, those were my top 10. Should you try any of these games, remember that not all DOS games let you enter the multiplayer mode from the game menu. Many require you to run setup, for example. In case you don't know how to set up DOSBox or should run into any trouble, I have a video tutorial on my channel. Now run along and have some good old school multiplayer fun.
Would you please stop singing?
Proximity warning. Planet ahead.
Grr! We're here! We're finally here!
Ooh,
What's that? Planet?